Ready to move on to the picks there, Patrick? Look at DraftKings.
Yes.
Some picking. Want to do some picking?
I'm ready.
Let's look at the top of this board because here we go. Brooks Koepka, who we will definitely probably not be done talking about after we move on from his name here, because I feel like we're going to talk about him at the PGA Championship recap. But Brooks with a pretty brutal Sunday. By the way, I will go ahead and say this in case people skip the end. Brooks Koepka was the chalk bomb last week, and we got all kinds of chatter. You know who you are. If you are listening to this right now, do not skip. I want you to sit and lather in the guilt that you should feel. If you chirped at us prior to Sunday, golf tournaments, Pat, how many rounds are golf tournaments? How many rounds are they?
I believe 4.
Four rounds are golf tournaments.
That's 72 holes.
We had people chirping at us after 18, after 36, after 54. How could you pick Brooks Koepka? What are you thinking? I had one guy email us, and he did it kind of nicely. He was saying he was a fan of the show, but he took the time to email us and tell us how crazy we were, how crazy Ben was specifically, to nail Brooks Koepka as the chalk bomb. But never forget, it's a 4-round tournament, okay? And what happened? He was $11,100. On average, he was 20% owned. He scored 66 DraftKings points with his T29, which is not good, okay? Even if you look at the T29 and go, well, that's not terrible. Well, it is for a guy 11-1, first of all. But he also underperformed. He didn't have a ton of birdies. He had 0 eagles. He had a bunch of bogeys, no bogey-free rounds. People like Ryan Palmer, Dylan Fratelli, and Louis Oosthuizen scored more fantasy points on DraftKings than Brooks Koepka. So the chalk bomb was 100% ballsy AF and accurate AF. Do not chirp at us prior to Sunday. Or, I don't know, just don't do it. I don't know what it's going to take to get this through people's heads. You can't call it too early.
Don't call it early. Now, if it hits on Sunday and everything's all said and done and the chalk bomb was not good, that's fine. You have all rights. You have all. We can take it. We can take the heat there. But you got to wait till Sunday's done. I mean, it's the same really when you're in DFS. Like if you got a hot one running and you're like early on a Sunday and you can't. It's just never done until the very end. I mean,
we had that listener that I went back. This is so awful of me, but it was fun. And he was a good sport about it. I hope he realizes I was messing around with him. It's too far down our notifications for me to find it, but we had a listener tweet us on Friday with a screenshot. He's winning like 20 grand on Friday night. And he's like, boys, hopefully it holds. And he tweets a screenshot. And I said, you should not have done that. I said, talk to me on Sunday. Well, I go back and I find him. I scroll all the way down and I find him on yesterday. And I'm like, how'd you finish? And he goes, not good. And I said, what did we learn? And he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have tweeted you early. And I was like, now, and he's like, thanks, Dad. And I was like, thank you, son. I'm glad we had this talk. Now, don't do that again. you cannot get too wrapped up about it.
You can't. You got to kind of reel it in a little bit. I had a good friend who, I mean, this is Sunday. Sunday after he'd had 2 players finish, he was in the $200 single entry. He had Ryan Palmer, who had just gone nuts. I guess Sunday, he was 6 under and with an eagle and whatever else. And he had Luke List in the house, and then he had 4 to go. 4 guys that were in those last 2 to 3 groups. So he was running. He had a chance, but he was winning $100,000. He was winning the $200 single entry
on Sunday.
On Sunday afternoon, by the time all was said and done, he minimum cashes the $200 single entry. Now, that's good. You still won some money.
Yeah.
It ain't 100,000 though. So if you just, that's what happens in these things. So you just got to roll with it. And look, we get all excited and stuff. I think there was a time early in the fall where I was like winning, I think $200,000 after Friday. And it just all fell to pieces. So, I mean,
you just have to keep the excitement within yourself. You can't broadcast it. The minute you broadcast it, you're freaking done.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the board. So you got Brooks, you got Webb up top. For me, I'll go ahead and kind of get into this, and I'll give you another fade. But it's tough for me to play either one of these guys in this field. It's tough for me to play Brooks at 11-4. He's searching. He's still not putting four together. This place, doesn't play as much to his strengths as Harding Park did. I don't know that he's completely healthy still. I'm not even sure. I don't know. I mean, I know he's got FedEx Cup points on the line. He's 92nd in the FedEx Cup, and he wants to get, at least to Eastlake, I would imagine. But he's clearly in for next week for the first event of the FedEx Cup. But top 70 get into the next week at the Northern Trust, which is a big deal. It's a no-cut event. It's a big deal. So Brooks is a little motivated, but he's never more motivated than the PGA or than a major. And I'm just not going to pay 11-4 for him in a field where I got to go. Then I got to sink down, and I'm just not going to do it. Webb is interesting. He's won here. He's got a kid named after this place. He's a local-ish guy. Paul Tesori is going to give it a go. I saw it on Twitter earlier today. He's going to give it a go. He's just pumped full of cortisone. He's going to give it a go and get back on the bag for Webb. That is encouraging to me, but I do think what we saw last week is the iron play of Webb fall off a little bit, which has been pretty solid. And you wonder, does that have anything to do with his caddy? Does that have anything to do with a caddy who can think a little more thoroughly through a shot, through a landing area, through a number, through the wind? Can he navigate those situations a little better? Now, obviously, Webb's a very seasoned professional and can do it, but Paul Tesori is his caddy and his coach. So if Tesori's back on the bag, it makes him a little more interesting, but obviously I also think Webb's going to be very chalk up top. So I will go with Patrick Reed in tournaments. I will go with Harris English in tournaments, dropping down. And then I'm going to go with Billy Horschel in tournaments. So those are my three GPP plays. Patrick's scoring really well right now. 7th in the field since the restart in birdies or better gained. 13th at the PGA last week. The irons aren't great. The irons scare me a little bit. Obviously, he's scrambling his little rotten, rude dick off, but he's scoring. He's finding a way. He's manufacturing it, right? And at 10-7, I'll take it. Harris English, what can you say about the guy? He's been solid as they come since the restart. Extremely solid. The ball striking's there. He's a putting, just absolute freak. He checks all the boxes off the tee. Iron play, putting. He checks them all. Now, he might be popular at 9,300. I don't know that you're going to get a lot of leverage out of Harris English, but I'll eat the chalk regardless. And then Billy Horschel, a guy who, lackluster finish at the PGA, coming off 3 really good weeks before that, but I love the form. He's also tied for 7th in the field with Patrick Reed in birdies or better gained since the restart, hitting a lot of fairways, hitting a lot of greens in regulation, and his best putting surface over the long-term average, Bermuda. So I will take Reed, English, and Billy Ho in tournaments, and my cash play is going to be Paul Casey. I'm going to go up and play Paul Casey, who I know is $10,300, but I like the way he's hitting it right now. It was good to see him, play well last week. I like Paul Casey. I'm a Paul Casey fan. I think he's got a great record here. T13, T3, T18 the last few times out. So I'm going to pick guys. All of these guys have pretty good records here. English, Casey, Reed, Billy, all have good records, all in good form. And I don't really care what the ownership ends up being. I think I'm just going to roll with those because I think when it comes down to these other ranges, there's just so many names here that I think are so even. Like I can pivot easily. So that's what I'm going to do. Technically my fade, even though I've already given you 2, is going to be Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy's irons are not good. He has no history here. His worst putting surface is Bermuda. I think the only reason he's playing here is because he needs the FedEx Cup points. He's ranked 85th. He wants to lock in Northern Trust, I would imagine. Obviously, he's pretty much in for next week, but I think he wants to lock in Northern Trust and give him a shot at Eastlake. But the irons aren't great. He just didn't look good this week. And at 10-5, there's no reason to pay up for him. So that's my breakdown of the 10K range.
Okay, some agreement and some disagreement here. I'll start with my fade, and it's just pretty easy. I'm just fading Brooks. I don't want to pay that high price for him. I think something's wrong with him. I think he might have a little bit of an injury issue. Now, nothing's been said about that. I think there's some speculation there. I was listening to some PGA Tour radio like Saturday night before the Sunday round, and the person that was following him around the course mentioned that he thought that there could be a little bit of an injury issue. He couldn't say it when he was broadcasting on the radio, but he said that's what he thought. So I don't know for sure but I don't like Kepka at 11-4, so I'm not going to play him. I understand he needs the points and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. I like Webb though. I do like him in GPPs. I think he's obviously been in pretty good form since the restart. He loves this course. He plays extremely well here. I'm not as worried about the caddy situation as you might be. I mean, I think actually you faded him last week, and I thought he had a pretty decent week considering the fact that he didn't have his normal caddy on the bag. I mean, he snuck up in there and was at least somewhat in contention for a little bit. So I like Webb at 11-2 on a course that he's comfortable on, and everything
I don't hate the Webb play. I told you I kind of get on the Webb play as long as Tesori's back, but he is going to be the most popular selection for sure in this range and maybe in the whole field.
I think he'll be extremely popular. But another popular guy that I have as a tournament play, and I could see where you could play him as cash as well, is Paul Casey. I have him as my tournament play here. So for all the same reasons that you did, I think it's a great play, and 10-3 I think is a good price as well. My cash play was actually Billy Horschel at 9,100. I kind of just like that price a little bit better if I'm starting my cash lineup. So I think that Horschel is a good one there. And my last tournament play is Tommy Fleetwood, and I'm just going to continue to hammer. Here's the thing. He's going to get his irons around eventually. I mean, he is way too good of a ball striker for it to just I guess continue to be this way. Now, I get the fact that you don't like him on Bermuda and whatever else. And he lost strokes like on approach majorly last week at the PGA Championship, but still was somehow able to, other than that terrible Sunday round, he was still up there and had himself in it, mainly because he putted extremely well. He gained 2.9 strokes putting last week, so that was important. He's been great scrambling since the restart. So I think Fleetwood could still be a pretty good play. And one of the things we saw with him is his ownership has just been extremely low. So if you're looking at a good low-owned tournament play in this over 9K range, I think Fleetwood could still could give you that leverage. And, he's been – well, he came back at the 3M and was 22, but I mean, that was, 22%, but that was just because it was such a weak field and whatever else. But I don't know. I still think you're going to see after all the play lately and everything else that he's going to be maybe he'll be like 10 to 15% owned. I'm okay with that. I like Fleetwood. I will play him in tournaments. So there you go.
And by the way, just so everybody knows, Abraham Answer, who's listed, has withdrawn, which sucks because I feel like this would be a great spot for him. But I think he's been playing a lot of golf, so he's probably taking a break before the playoff run.
I actually feel like in this category that English could be a fade. I think
really.
Well, if he's higher owned than if he's up there with ownership at 9,300, I think he'd be a good pivot point. By the way, article.
I mean, he will be higher owned, I think, for sure.
I mean, if we're talking about a pivot.
Yeah, but it's tough to find a reason to fade him right now. I mean, other than ownership, I mean, that'd be the only thing. And I usually like to find something other than that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I guess you can always dig into any stat. I mean, I could probably find some stat that says he sucks from 8 feet to 12 feet for whatever reason. But
he sucks in proximity, by the way, in case you want to know.
Well, he's 24th in strokes gained on approach. Like proximity stats, bogus. All right, moving on because I don't want the show to last forever when we get into a proximity argument again. 8K range, I'll make this snappy. My 2 tournament plays for one of the first times, I think, since the restart, if not the first time, I'm going to play Kiz. I was impressed with Kiz's 19th place finish at the PGA. He backed up his top 25 at the WGC. He's obviously very comfortable on Bermuda. He's in the South, an accuracy course, a course he's got a great record at, or not a great record, but a decent record. A couple top tens his last few attempts. He can score. He can get hot. We all know who lit the Kiz, right? So we know he can get hot. I like the upside scoring for Kiz. So I'll go with him in tournaments. And then I'm going to go with Corey Connors, a guy that last week I talked about on the podcast, but this is why you need to be a Nut Hut member. We got some inside info on Connors late on Wednesday night and shared that in the Nut Hut. Everybody hopefully faded him and he missed the cut. But I'm going to get back on, unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to get back on Connors and hope that some people jump off the Corey Connors train. He's just so stupid good, tee to green. This just sets up so nicely for him. He's improved on his first attempt here at Wyndham. He finished 45th, and then the next attempt last year, he finished 22nd. He's a terrible putter no matter what surface he's on, but he's actually best or least shitty on Bermuda. But he checks all the boxes, and I think I'm going to get a little break with him in ownership, and he's only 8K. So I'll go with Corey Connors. And then in terms of cash, I'm going to go with Ryan Moore in cash. Pretty solid record here for Ryan Moore. Did not play the PGA because of a family commitment. And that is, it is what it is. I don't know. You can talk about what type of family commitment would be different than getting into a major if your name is Ryan Moore. Like, it's not like he's guaranteed to get into every major, but hey, he's a seasoned veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's clearly valuing the family, so he didn't play the PGA. But before that, we saw him play the Barracuda as well, and he played pretty good. That's a great event, a comparable event for this. You just got to go throw some, go flag hunting, and he did okay at the Barracuda. T12 at the 3M Open. This is a great course for Ryan Moore. So I'm going to go with Ryan Moore in cash. I feel that good about it. My fade is going to be Siwoo Kim. He's playing well. I get that. But he is not hitting fairways. His worst surface is Bermuda. Now, I know he's obviously got a decent record here. Worst surface is Bermuda by a long shot. Like, he's awful on Bermuda. Almost neutral in the other areas. Awful on Bermuda. But if you look short-term and long-term, his fairways hit pretty bad. Fairways gained is the stat on Fantasy National that we like. At the PGA, he did do pretty well. He hit 1.6, he gained 1.6 on fairways there, but every other event since the restart, terrible. In fact, he -8 fairways gained at the workday, and historically not a very accurate driver to the golf ball. And I don't like that I don't feel like at 8,600, am I really getting that much better of a player with that much better upside as I am with Kiz or with Ryan Moore, or with Corey Connors, or even some names down here in the 7K. So I don't love the value with Siwoo Kim, the inconsistency with Siwoo Kim, although he's played better lately. I'm not buying the Siwoo Kim. So there we go.
All right, well, we have some agreement again here. And I think here's the thing with this 8K range. It's kind of weird for me. I think that I'm going to probably sort of plant my flag on a couple of guys over 9K, and then I'm going to be dropping down and maybe take one guy in here in this 8K range, but then in the 7K range is where I feel like you're really going to, have a chance to win the money in that range this week. So, but for the 8K range, I'm with you on Kiz. He was one of my tournament plays. I just like how he's been playing, and this is the type course that he sort of grew up on and should be able to play well on. So I do like him here. So I will play him as a tournament play. I had Ryan Moore actually as a tournament play for me at 8,100. I think it's just
take
a good
that
price. And I don't think I could see him. You play him in cash. I don't mind that as well. Yeah. But for all the same reasons you said, my cash play was actually Brendan Todd up here at 8,900. Another course that's just great for Brendan Todd. I mean, and we're seeing him every week. I mean, he's just always up there at some point. His ball striking is incredible. He's, accurate off the tee. He checks the box in opportunities gained. I mentioned that. He's 11th in the field there. He's 11th in par 4 scoring, which is something that I look at on a par 70 course. So I think Brendan Todd at 8,900 is just as solid as they get. I will definitely play him in cash and then probably in tournaments as well, because I still think he's probably going to not have a ton of ownership. So I like him. My fade's going to be Sneds. I know he's got, some great course history here and whatever else, but I mean, he's just not really playing great at all when you consider the stats and everything else. I mean, like literally the only thing that he pops in is his scrambling. And other than that, like there's just nothing. So outside of the course history that you see with him, I just haven't seen anything. I mean, he did make the cut last week, but he finished 51st. He was 67th in the WGC, which was a no-cut event. So he probably would have missed the cut anyway if there was a cut, and then missed 2 straight cuts before that. Not a fan of Sneds, despite the course history and everything there. So there you go.
Okay. Why don't you kick us off in the 7K range? 3 tournament plays, a cash play, and a fade.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off at the top at 7,900. I like some Dylan Fratelli. I mentioned him last week.
Yeah, good call on him last week.
As a low 6K, or he was in that. When he was up in the high 6K, I can't remember.
Scored more points than Brooks Koepka, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. I just want to mention that again.
I think you mentioned that once or twice.
Yeah.
But finished 33rd last week. He was, he's on a pretty good run with the T18 at the 3M, top 22 at Memorial. You look at the stats. He's checking the box in ball striking. He's in the top 20 in the field there. Strokes gained approach, scrambling, par 4 scoring. Pretty much. Across the board, he's really been hitting the ball really well. Now he's only played this tournament once, and he missed the cut. I believe it was last year. I don't care about that. I like the way he's playing right now. So at 7,900, I think he is a good tournament play. I'm going back to the well with our boy Tom Lewis at 7,600. I know he burned a lot of people last week, but I think this is another good spot for him. And maybe we'll get a little bit less ownership for him at now that he's pissed everybody off and whatever else. But greens and regulation, ball striking, all of that, he's good. So I like him at 7,600. So I will play him as well. My other tournament play. Can you guess who my other tournament play is?
Bud Colley.
Bud Colley, 7,200.
Man, were you hating yourself on Thursday at the PGA when Bud Colley and Alex Noren were making a run?
It was killing me. And so now I'm going to have to mention him. But, look, he's a good fit here. Checks the box around the greens. He's top 20 in the field in opportunities gained. Par 4 scoring, greens and regulation, good ball striker. You look at his history here. That's actually pretty good as well. He was T22 last year, 42nd in 2017, top 10 in 2016. So a guy who's, and he's been in pretty good recent form. You throw all of that together, I think Bud Colley is a good play at 7,200. So I do like him. My cash play is going to be Lucas Glover at 7,300. I know you were on him last week, I think.
Yeah.
And he screwed you.
Yeah.
But look, he's got the perfect game for this course. The perfect game. It should be. He should finish top 25 on this tournament every year that he plays it. So I like him at 7,300, and I will play him as well. God, I didn't even write down a fade. Why didn't I write down a fade? I'm going to fade Russell Henley just because I'm tired of Russell Henley right now.
Let's talk about Russell Henley because I do think he is going to be extremely popular. He may give Webb a run for his money as the most popular play overall, but I definitely think he's going to be the most popular play in this range because he's hitting the ball so freaking good. His irons right now are just absolutely boiling hot. His now he arrives on Bermuda, his best putting surface by a long shot, long term, short term, doesn't matter what you want to look at. Shockingly, he's losing a ton of strokes on the green still. Even at the PGA, lost 4.3 strokes putting. But his iron play the last 4 weeks, he's gained 7.1 at the PGA, 1.6 at the 3M, 6 at the Workday, 8 at the Travelers. It's unreal. He's just, his irons are so good.
It's frustrating as hell, and his putter sucks right now, and he's known to be a good putter. He's basically like the Jordan Spieth of the 7K range, or of the
he's
he's just not doing. And I don't
Okay,
know.
let me
Like if you get Henley, if you keep getting them at high ownership, it's like, why do you keep chasing that? Like,
here's a shocking fact though. Out of 187 measured shot length events that Russell Henley has played in, guess what his strokes gained putting number is?
43rd.
No, the actual strokes gained. Okay, forget it. Out of 187 events, he's averaged 0.8 strokes gained putting in the positive.
Point. Okay. Right.
So it's not like he's in the positive, but he's actually not a world beater or has been a world beater, putting for his entire career. He just hasn't been as bad as he is right now. So
Bermuda
I don't know.
his best surface.
Bermuda's his best surface by a long shot. So I don't know what to do with Henley. I do feel like a chalky Henley is a fade-worthy Henley. I think that makes a lot of sense. And maybe you just bet him. Maybe you fade him in DFS and you bet him a top 10 or bet him outright. And that may be what I end up doing. But he does look to be pretty chalky right now, for show. All right, my tournament picks in this range. I'm gonna pivot off your Fratelli, and I'm gonna go with Doc Redman. I'm gonna go with the young Doc Redman, the scorer, the guy who is sixth in this field since the restart in strokes gained approach, seventh in greens and regulation, 28th in fairways gained. He scores. I love Doc here. I will definitely be playing some Doc Redman. In fact, he's also 84th in the FedEx Cup. So he's kind of a bubble boy wanting to make it in the Northern Trust in a couple of weeks. I feel like that's going to motivate him a little bit. He's a young guy wanting to get to East Lake. A good week here and a good week next week would do a lot for him. And Henley's also got that motivation. I mean, Henley's 118. Obviously, this year, the difference in the FedEx Cup, it doesn't mean as much because these guys aren't fighting for tour cards, but they are still fighting for because everybody, with COVID is going to keep their card, but they are fighting for what, God, what's the word? Jesus, for what class they're playing out of or whatever you call it.
Status.
So it does status, whatever. Yeah. And they want to make it to the playoffs, right? Like you want to keep the season going and make it to the playoffs. But Henley sits at 118. Like that's as good as he's playing right now. He's got a little extra motivation. Like he's just inside the 125 number to play next week. He needs a big week this week and next week to get into the Northern Trust. I mean, there's some motivation there. That's why I say, like, I don't know. DFS, I'm with you. I think if he's around that 18% or more, I feel like it's a fade. Just because it's Russell Henley.
If you're going to play Henley this week and you want to see what it's going to be like, go watch the Scratch Golf video that we did on your week with Fantasy Golf, and pay attention to Friday and the anger and the emotions that we are going through in that video on YouTube. You can find it there on YouTube through Scratch's channel. That is going to be what you're going to be going through with Russell Henley on Friday, is what I think.
It's tough. It is tough. All right, I'm gonna go with Redmond. I think the chalk, another chalk play that is down here, but chalk I'm gonna eat is gonna be HV3. Checks all the boxes. Played well at the PGA Championship. Yeah. He's a North Carolina boy. He's made 3 of 4 cuts at the Wyndham. Best finish was a T10 a few times back, which isn't great, but I feel like the floor is good for Harold Varner here. And then I think it comes down to, I don't mind your Glover play, but Henrik Norlander is going to be chalk. I think you could pivot off of Norlander and go down $100 and go to Luke List. I think Norlander is the safer play right now with how he's playing. Just ball striking machine right now, but I also think that List can offer maybe a little better upside. Now List has terrible tournament history here, but he's coming off a solid week at the PGA. He's been playing okay lately. So I'm going to go back to the well with Luke List. T10 at the Memorial a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'm going to go with Luke List there. And my cash play, I guess I'd go Norlander in cash. I feel good about Norlander. Even at 7,300, I feel good about Norlander. There's a couple other guys that I gave consideration to here. I mean, Jim Furyk is interesting here. Yeah. Anyway,
I think I had HV3. I had Henrik
I'd probably go
Norlander.
HV3 cash,
I
honestly.
had them both written down as something, they obviously interest me. I think, a good pivot off of if you want to, if you're looking at that 7,300, you're looking at Glover or Norlander, and they might be higher end. I think if you go up, I like going up to Lanto Griffin at
Lanto
74.
withdrew. Lanto withdrew.
He did?
Yeah, he withdrew today, I think.
Shit.
Or yeah.
Okay, never mind. Then I don't like going up to Atlanta
Yeah.
because that would be a bad thing to do.
Yeah. A guy that my fade this week, and I hate to do it, and I hope I'm wrong, is JT Poston, defending champ. Love JT, love Fleener, but man, his irons are so bad right now. I mean, they're not good. He lost 5 shots on approach with his irons at the PGA. He has not been positive in strokes gained approach since the Honda in March. I don't love it. He's got to hit his irons better here. I mean, let's look at last year. I mean, last year when he won, he gained 7 shots with his irons. He had just been
It was
playing.
well documented and said millions of times that he didn't make a bogey the entire 72 holes.
That's right. Yep. First person to do that since Lee Trevino, I believe, to win a tournament like that. Nice. Yeah, so I think JT, man, I mean, he's 144th in this field in strokes gained approach since the restart. That's very no bueno. So I think, the defending champ's got to go. And I don't think he's going to be that popular. I mean, I don't think it's going to give you a big edge, but just if you're kind of new to this and you're looking at him and go, wait a minute, the guy won last year. I mean, he does have the style of game to win here. Maybe a little magic. I would love to be wrong about this one because he's a friend. Fleener's a buddy. We'd love to see him win, but something's got to change here for him pretty soon. All right, let's get to the 6K range. Before we do that, though, Pat, I showed everybody my underwear last week on the podcast. I don't know if you remember that, but I showed everybody my underwear. Really enjoying my fresh new draws from my friends, the Chill Boys. Chill Boys Undies, Minnesota-based company, making some fine and fresh underwear from bamboos. Like who in Minnesota was like, hey, we should make some underwear out of some bamboo. Like what?
Who anywhere
decided
that?
Huh?
Who anywhere decided that? I've seen that in other places. Like what? How do we figure out bamboo makes some good threads?
I don't know, but it definitely does. It definitely does. It's lightweight. It's breathable. You can deal with it in humid, hot, 100-degree weather like we have down here in the South. Very comfortable. They've got the anti-chafing slide zone, which I really like. There's a special zone right where your special zone is. And it keeps you from chafing it up when the conditions are brutal. And so our friends at Chill Boys want to give our friends, you the listeners, an opportunity to check them out. You can go to chillboys.com to see the full line of cool, soft boxers and boxer briefs. And you can use promo code Tour Junkies to get 15% off your entire first order. The whole order, everything you get, 15% off your first order with promo code Tour Junkies at chillboys.com. 15%. You can thank us later for helping out your boys while you're playing golf, or maybe you're playing a game of pickup basketball, or maybe you're playing pickleball, which I hear is very popular right now. And you're leaning for a forehand, and you feel like your crotch is gonna the friction's gonna cause a spark, which is gonna light your drawers on fire. Well, you need some Chill Boys with that anti-chafing slide zone to hook you up. Thank you, Chill Boys, too, for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate it. Keeps this thing hustling, keeps it going. Right, Pat?
Yeah.
Cheers to you, Chill Boys.
Yeah. It's very comfortable underwear.
Mm-hmm. All right, 6K range. Any names in the 6K?
I got a few here. I'm going to start at the top at 6,900. I like some Adam Long. I think Adam Long is
I thought you would.
You did?
You love Adam Long.
I don't know.
Adam Long is becoming your 6K Bud Cauley.
Is he really? Am I mentioning him that much?
Yeah, you are. Which I think actually the last time you mentioned me finished runner up at the 3M. I don't know, but yeah, I think you did. Where does he pop for you? Like I'm looking at him right now. I'm trying to figure out where does he pop.
Well, I mean, I think the form is good, is what I like. I mean, he's finished, like you said, he finished second just a few weeks
forms are
ago at
good.
the 3M. He's
Yeah.
made the cut at the PGA in an extremely stacked field. 52nd at the Workday. Actually, they got a pretty good field there. As far as the stats are concerned, he's definitely not a great putter on Bermuda, so that doesn't really, throw it. Come. And there's not a ton of guys down here, by the way, that just check a ton of boxes, but. He's in the top, he's 41st in the field in ball striking, 31st in approach. He's 36 in strokes gained scoring on par fours. So I think that, across the board, I mean, it's not all that bad. Checks the box for me in greens and regulation. When you get down in this range, you're not finding guys that are like top 10 in greens and regulation or top 20. You're just trying to find some guys that are like they're hovering on the edge and they're in the top third of the field relative to everybody else. And that's what I kind of see with Adam Long. So I like him at 6,900. Also a fan of Bryce Garnett at 6,700. I think he's a good play. Now he actually checks more boxes.
I noticed him too.
I mean, he's ball striking 39th, 32nd in strokes gained approach, 6th in par 4 scoring on, he's 7th in greens and regulation. You look at he's got good course history here.
Great.
He's played here four of the last 5 years. 2 of those were top 20 finishes, and he had a T6 last year. So I think Bryce Garnett at 6,700 makes a ton of sense. Looking at
also strokes gained, sneaky good dancer. You would know that,
not me.
We took to the floor at the Kisner Foundation event last year, and Bryce threw it down. Down for a guy named Bryce. You would think he would just hold up the wall, but no, not him.
But we haven't seen him in a couple weeks. He didn't get in the PGA, and he didn't obviously play in the WGC, but he was T26 at the 3M. So I think Garnett makes a little bit of sense there. A flyer kind of play for me, and I don't know why, but it's just Keith Mitchell. I want to play Keith Mitchell this week, and at 6,800. I just feel like I saw him play a full round with Tiger, and I thought he hit the ball pretty well, playing with Tiger. Like, I just feel like Keith Mitchell is one of those guys that could be sort of a long shot, just like you're getting him cheap. He's still a stud player. I mean, he's not a stud player, but he's still a winner on tour that you're getting at 6,800 on a course that he can kind of dial it back on, and he doesn't have to feel like he has to, bomb it off the tee and whatever else. I like Keith Mitchell at 6,800. It's just a gut play for me.
Yeah, it's like he's around the same price he was at the PGA in a much weaker field. So it just seems like he's undervalued. Hits the ball a freaking mile. And I don't know. It does feel like a weird one. Best putting surface is Bermuda by far. One on Bermuda. It does feel like just kind of he feels like a really high upside, like high floor, but I mean, high ceiling, but super low floor, like trunk slamming floor is what Keith could bring you.
So those are my guys in this range.
Okay. I got 4. I got Ryan Armour at 6,800, who feels like the safer kind of low floor cut maker.
Definitely an accurate guy off the tee.
Very accurate, really good record here over the last 3 years. You can take a look at that on your own. But I mean, even since the restart, a T6 and a T4 since the restart at the Travelers and the Rocket Mortgage. That's pretty impressive for Ryan Armour. I'm a little concerned. I was initially a little concerned about the birdies, but since the restart, he's actually 35th in this field in birdies or better gained, which for a guy at 6,800 is actually pretty solid. So he can get warm and go out and make some birdies. Similar to Keith Mitchell at 6,800, I think Will Gordon is the play. A young guy.
I really like that one. I think that one's going to be a sneaky good play this week.
I don't think it's going to be that sneaky. Everybody's loving Will Gordon, but
you're hearing a lot of talk already about Will Gordon.
No, I'm saying like, I'm saying between like this restart, he's caught a lot of attention since the restart. But he hadn't done that great, honestly. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
T3,
other than the time he popped
T3 at the Travelers,
whenever it was, yeah.
But yeah, putt's okay on Bermuda. 4th in birdie or better gained. Hits it a mile. I mean, maybe the longest hitter. I mean, he may be the longest hitter on this in this tournament. I mean, that when he was playing with Matt Wolff in that exhibition match, I think it was for the Rocket, or maybe the 3M. He was out driving. I think he outdrove Matt Wolff. Was it Matt Wolff? Who did he outdrive? He outdrove somebody that was freaking long. He's a long hitter. Now, if he can get his irons dialed in for 1 week, he could run away with this thing. So I like him from the perspective of just another high ceiling kind of guy. But I got two really sneaky 1%ers, maybe 2%ers that are stupid cheap that I actually feel pretty good about. Actually, let me give you a bonus one. Chase Seifert at 6,400 seems like a very poor. It just seems like a misprice with how he's been playing. Seifert's 127 in the FedEx Cup. He needs a good week this week, and he can play next week, guarantee himself another week on tour. Irons and ball striking have been very solid since the restart, but that's not the one I was talking about. But he's only 6,400. Love that. All right, at $6,200, Chris Baker, European Tour kind of mainstay guy, stupid accurate, really, really accurate player. He hasn't missed a cut since the restart. He's only played in 2 events, Rocket Mortgage and the 3M Open. But in those 2, struck the ball very well. 9th in strokes gained approach, 23rd in fairways gained, 20th in birdies or better gained. I think Chris Baker at 62 is very interesting. And also, I'm going to go with our boy Hank Lebiota at 6,100. The last time I talked about him was at 3M Open. He finished T26 at the 3M. He's gotten a putting lesson. He's changed a little bit of what he's doing with the flat stick, which I think will work out a little better for him. Since the restart, 13th in strokes gained approach, not too bad. Is kind of middle of the pack in terms of fairways, greens and regulation, 35th. $6,100 for Hank. I mean, I think in this field, his upside is probably I think he's probably a T15 upside, maybe T10 even. I could see him T10 here. If Davis Love can win this thing, Hank Lebiota can finish top 10. So I think there's a lot of upside. If you're playing a mass entry GPP contest, I think Lebiota is a very interesting play at 6,100. I'd have a sprinkler too.
So there you go. Either one of those plays. I think those
you like those?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were going to go CT Pan. I just felt like
I don't like CT Pan. I don't.
Wow, what's wrong with CT?
I don't know. I just don't like him.